Hey everyone, this is Coach Matt Ellis over at Primal Athlete Training Center, www.primalatc.com. Coming to you today to talk to you a little bit about speed training. You know, here at Primal, I work with a lot of track and field athletes. Work with a lot of field athletes like throwers and jumpers, but I also work with a lot of sprinters. Now, not necessarily just sprinters in track and field, but I work with a lot of athletes who need to get faster. So I work with a lot of football players, I work with a lot of baseball players, and I work with a lot of basketball players who need to get faster, need to increase speed, whether that's up and down the basketball court, up and down the football field, or around the baseball diamond. And one of the biggest issues I see with sprinters and with athletes who need to run fast is that typically that's all they do at practice. If you look at a track and field sprinter, their warm-up normally consists of sprinting mechanics, sprinting drills, and movements that highly resemble a sprint, things like bounding and skipping drills. Then when they're done with their warm-up that consists of a lot of sprinting mechanics, they go on and do their workout, which consists of different length sprints for different amounts of distances and time. So they've gone from a sprinter type warm-up to an actually sprinting workout. When they go to a track meet or when they go to a football game, what are they expected to do? They're expected to sprint and to run fast. So what happens is they spend their entire practice and they spend their entire competition sprinting, running fast. And one of the biggest issues I see is that when these athletes come to me here at Primal and want to get faster, they all want to just do sprinting drills. But if you do sprinting drills all day long during your warm-up, if you do sprinting drills all day long when you're running around the track, and if you do sprints when you're actually doing your event at a track meet, going to a facility and wanting to do more sprinting drills is probably not going to help you. What's going to help you the most, if you are a sprinter that spends all practice sprinting and running fast, what's going to help you get faster is not more of the same. What's going to help you get faster is by getting you stronger. One of the exercises that I love to do here at Primal for my sprinters is a stiff-legged deadlift. Now, there's two variations of this. There is the straight leg deadlift where your knees are completely locked out, and there's a stiff-legged deadlift where your knees have a real slight bend, but you're holding your legs completely stiff. I teach the stiff-legged deadlift because I find that it's going to activate more and lengthen the hamstring more than if you did a straight-legged deadlift with your legs completely locked out. And the way that a stiff-legged deadlift works, and the best way to teach a stiff-legged deadlift, is with something moderately heavy, like a kettlebell or a heavy dumbbell, even a 45-pound weight bar that's empty, or maybe just has a couple tens on the side. And what you want to do is you want to grab it. Now I'm going to show you from the side, and I'm going to show you from front on so that you get the idea of what's happening. And then, using this blank wall, I'm going to show you guys how to teach it and how to introduce it to your athletes. So you want to grab the kettlebell. This is about a 100-pound kettlebell. I'm about 225 pounds, so this is less than half of my body weight. And what you want to do is you want to take your feet and space your feet about the same distance as if you were going to do a squat or jump as high as you could in the air. A little bit wider than shoulder width. You want to keep the shoulders back. You want to have a slight bend in your knee. Notice I'm not squatting down, but I'm not totally locked out either. I've got a slight bend in the knee. And from here, I start to hinge my hips backwards. So I'm going to start to push my hips back, 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 back. And when I get to the point where I feel like my back is going to round over, I squeeze my glutes, I squeeze my butt, I push my hips forward, and the kettlebell starts to rise back up to the starting position. So to show you again, slight bend in the knee, we're going to push the hips back, 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 back. Squeeze the butt and come up. Push the hips back, squeeze the butt and come up. Back, squeeze. Back, squeeze, back, squeeze. And what you're going to feel is a tremendous stretch down the hamstring. Now, for a lot of sprinters, this is a big problem area. Typically what we see if a sprinter does work out is, like a lot of high school and college athletes, they only train what they see in the mirror. They train their chest, they train their quads, they want to get the six-pack, they want to get the arms, they want beach muscles. But the most important part of sprinting, or any athletic event, is the back of your body. And the hamstrings play a major role. Hamstring injuries are starting to increase everywhere. That's all I hear about, is how athletes are injuring their hamstring, athletes are tearing their ACLs, their MCLs, and it all has to deal with muscle imbalances in the leg. So by lengthening that hamstring and strengthening the hamstring using a movement like this, we're going to help to combat a lot of those really devastating hamstring injuries. So this is what it looks like. What you'll start to see with a lot of your younger athletes is that the back is going to start to round. They do not have the flexibility and they are not mobile enough to push their hips back and get in that good lengthened hamstring position. So the way to teach this is to get on a blank wall. Have your athletes put their butt on the wall and start walking their feet forward. And what you're going to notice is that as they start walking their feet forward, they're going to start to feel a really deep stretch in the back of their legs. If they bend a little bit at the waist, you're going to start to feel that deep stretch in the hamstrings even more. If they reach between their legs to hit the wall, now you're going to feel a super intense stretch in those hamstrings, and I showed that in a previous video. So once you have the distance, or the approximate distance away from the wall that their feet are located on the ground, you want to stand up, you want to grab that kettlebell, and you want to start to hinge backwards until your butt hits the wall. And it looks like this. Shoulders are back, slight bend in the knee. You're going to start to hinge back. Once the butt hits the wall, you're going to stand straight up. Now I'm going to move back maybe about an inch, just because that was a little too far for me, and your athletes will have to do that as well. You're going to push back, touch the wall, squeeze your glutes, and stand straight up. Back with the hips, touch the wall, fire the glutes, stand straight up. Back, fire, and repeat. And you can see how this is the starting position for a lot of big movements. Starting position in a squat is hinging back. The clean is hinging backwards. Starting position, stiff-legged deadlift, hinging backwards. Starting position in a standard deadlift, hinging backwards. So that hinge is a base athletic movement that your athletes need to master. They can't master it until the hamstring is strong and flexible, and this is how you do it. Guys, it's Coach Matt over at Primal Athlete Training Center. Incorporate the stiff-legged deadlift into your training regime. You're going to see healthier hamstrings, you're going to see stronger hamstrings, you're going to see faster times, and you're going to see your athletes breaking records and setting PRs on a daily basis. Make sure you incorporate it into your training. You'll be happy you did, and your athletes will thank you.